It's a good thing because we did some track maintenance. Good thing for these riders to check out the track one more time.
Yeah, with a little bit of level. Every time they check the track on a mile, it's always good to let the guys, see it first, make sure at speed there are no issues with it, and then get ready to go green.
It also to warm up their tires, right?
Well, it helps the guys in Group 1. Group 2 probably won't have that advantage.
Exactly.
But, yeah, it will certainly be advantageous, get a little bit of heat in the tires. But a lot of these riders and teams are using tire warmers anyhow, so I don't know that that's that big of an issue. They've been sitting out there cold for a little while. Get a little heat in them, be good for them.
Our officials down there, Matt Dayringer, when the track is clear from the official observer, he'll send them out, and then we'll do a starting lineup as they're down there on the back straightaway. All right, they said there's something going on still on the track. So 2 of them took off, and the rest of them were told to hold on a second. I'm trying to listen to AMA Pro Radio and listen to Chris Carr talk. We are in the studio down here in the pit area in the AMA Pro Racing Semi, so don't quite have the vantage point that I usually have up in the grandstands. We got 2 guys that have made their way around. This must be something going on down there in turns 3 and 4. The bikes are running right now. Probably going to start getting a little warm sitting there, aren't you? Unless they're using that Evans coolant.
It's certainly a possibility. Most of these bikes in this class are the new water-cooled bikes. They do benefit from having air running through the radiators.
All right, just a reminder, there's a lot of stuff happening behind the grandstands. Stop by and check it out when you get a break. They've got souvenir T-shirts on sale. They also have the 50-50 from the Class of 79 and Friends. I believe they're going to be drawing at 2 o'clock today, so they're going to draw in about 30 minutes. If you want to get part of that 50-50, please do so as you can. So after these bikes will take off, we will go ahead and give you the starting lineup for heat race number 1. This is GNC2 class, a little bit different than GNC1s. We will take the top 7 riders to the main event. Any predictions, or you want to wait, Chris?
No, I think too early. First mile race, some of these guys riding a mile for the first time on a twin. Some of them riding a twin for the first time, period. It's hard to predict who's gonna come through and move forward.
All right, since all the riders have taken off, let's go ahead and give you the starting lineup. From Sherwood, Oregon, our fast qualifiers, the 16M Austin Helmholtz. Second starter on the front row from Aurora, Indiana. He's on a Kawasaki. That's the 24J Brandon Wilhelm. Third pick on the front row, third spot on the front row, I should say, from Albion, New York, is the M&J Racing Kawasaki 94B Ryan Wells. Fourth starter on the front row from Salinas, California, now makes his home here in Illinois, the 30Z Bronson Bauman. 44E Norcote, California rider Nick Armstrong. 47F Austin Conant from Mount Vernon, Ohio. Row number 2 looks like this, the 54A Dan Bromley, 33P Levi Mayer, 77U Scott Stump, 16S Tristan Avery, 19B Justin Jones, and the 17C, that is Sean McNary. Row number 3, the 32C Brian McRoberts, 20C Mike Dillon, and the 11G Gary Ketchum from Tulsa, Oklahoma. That is your starting lineup. So we're bringing them to the line right now. Several Kawasaki's, 1 KTM, 1 Aprilia, and 2 Suzuki's out there, Chris. So a big variety of bikes. Again, GNC2 class. Some of these bikes are debuting for the very first time right here at Springfield.
Yeah, many of these guys riding for the first time. If you look at the riders on the list, the 94B Ryan Wells, probably the most experienced in the GNC2 class, but probably not the most experienced on twins.
All right.
Although he does visit Canada quite a bit, we have to keep an eye on him and see how he races.
Miss Harley-Davidson is out of the way. Here we go, heat race number 1 at Springfield. It is race time. Watch the Christmas tree. They got to watch the lights. There's a red light on top, 2 yellow lights, and then a green light, so they must not have quite ready. One of them smoking back there in the second row. I believe that's Bromley.
Yeah, the red light comes on when
they just said on the AMA Pro Radio that the light is not turning on, so somebody...
Well, in the past when they've had a malfunction like this, typically they go and either reset the whole system,
right,
or they grab the green flag and
all right, here we go. Bikes go back into gear, clutches are in. We're going to start the Springfield Mile right now. GNC2 Class 1 bike on row number 2 smoking. That's Bromley on the 54A Warner Racing entry, and the light does not change once again. I'm glad you can't hear what's going on in my ear.
Well, if this continues on much longer, they're going to have to give these guys a lap to get some air in the radiators. If not, they're going to need to grab a green flag and get this program going.
Now they're actually talking that somebody jumped, so that's what they're trying to figure out. So we're trying to figure that out. I'm not sure exactly what happened. All of them pulled back up to the front row. Chris Carr up here, color commentating. I'm Scotty Dubler. Heat race number 1, getting ready to fire off the line at Springfield. And they are off, some of them better than others.
Yeah, first start for many of these guys out of first gear on a mile. Looks like the 77 out front.
Stump? Or is it? It's got to be Stump, the 77U.
77U.
Or the 72. It could be the 72F.
Yeah.
We'll see who it is when they come down the back straightaway. It is the 77. How did he get up there from the second row, Chris?
He's a veteran.
That is Scott Stump, 2-time 883 champion in the lead. Couple riders going off the groove down there. Everybody trying to get back in line. I believe that's Wells in second, Wilhelm in the third spot. We'll get the lineups coming back to you when they come this direction. Here they come. Wilhelm sets up straight in a hurry. He'll try to chase down the rest of our riders. So they're coming across the start-finish line for the first time. It is Stumpy out front. The 77U will lead him into the first corner. He's got a lot of company coming. It's Bauman right there, and now a new rider taking over the 3 spot. That's Brandon Wilhelm, the bright orange bike. Here comes the green leathers. That might be Sean McNary, the 17C from Florida. And here's our fast qualifier back in 4th. That's Bauman in the second spot. I didn't recognize him with the blue and white leathers, used to his red, white, and black leathers. So Bauman taking a look around the outside, looking for the lead.
Well, the veteran of the group out here, 45-year-old Scott Stump, leads the field of younger riders. This guy's won here before. He may not have qualified all that well on the second row, obviously in the middle, but he got a bullet of a start, got himself up front, and says, hey, I came here to win Springfield again.
Absolutely. So he leads them off for turn number 2. Everybody is trying to get in line, get nose to tail. Here comes Bauman. Looks like he's pulling out early. Now he's back in third. The fast qualifiers all down there on the inside, all by himself. That's harder because you actually got to go in there and really turn left. And he went in there and actually moved Wilhelm off of the racing groove a little bit.
Yeah, I noticed a little bit in practice. Helmholtz kind of diving toward the inside a little early on the entry to the corners, and makes it a little bit more difficult for him to get from the middle because he's coming in for such a lower angle. But he
must have a fast motorcycle then.
Things running good, but you know, the 77U out front hasn't been drafted yet. We'll see if Helmholtz can put himself in position to pull the draft pass.
Again, some of these riders have never drafted before, especially on a big twin like they're riding today. Helmholtz ducks in all by himself. Behind the leader is the 30Z.
And we see here on camera, it's hard for our fans in the stands to see, but Helmholtz turns in real early as we have one rider off the racing line and coming to a stop up by the air fence in turns 3 and 4.
This is GNC2 heat race number 1. We'll take the top 7 riders directly to the main event. Everybody else comes back in one last chance qualifier. It's still Stumpy out front. Now our fast qualifier ducks into second, the 16M of Helmholtz. Third spot, Bronson Bauman, Brombo back there in third. He's trying to get up there and win this thing. The better you finish, the better starting spot you will have in the main event.
These guys are certainly hoping to finish in the top 3 as the 44E of Nick Armstrong coming up to battle for the last transfer or last spot to the front row in the final.
What I noticed, Chris, is he had a terrible start, was way back in the pack, so he's worked his way through in a hurry. It was Ryan Wells, the rider that was off the pace. So here comes the 44E of Armstrong. White flag is in the air. It's Stumpy. Armstrong looking for a bid up the inside. So is Bronson Bauman. So it's Stump into turn number 1.
I'm seeing a little bit of inexperience behind the veteran of Stump. These riders are trying to pull out a little early. We have a severe headwind down the front straightaway. It's much more difficult to lead, but these guys are so tight behind him, they're not able to use the slingshot.
It's Stumpy, lead him into turn number 3. We got Bauman right behind him, and here comes Nick Armstrong. The 44E's made his way to the front. Looks like Wilhelm slips off the groove again, trying to catch the leader. So they're side by side for the lead. This hasn't happened yet. Bauman trying to go around and makes the pass. Now here comes Armstrong, the 44E. Here they come to the finish line. It's going to be a photo finish.
That's a close one.
Wow.
That's a close one. They're going to have to wait on AMA to call that one. Our monitor says Nick Armstrong.
It just updated. The 44E, Nick Armstrong on the Kawasaki, takes the win by 0.042 seconds. Scott Stump, who led every lap except for the last one, will come home in second. Austin Helmholtz, the 16M, our fast qualifier, will be third. Bronson Bauman will be fourth on the 30Z. Justin Jones fifth on the KTM number 19B. Sixth is Austin Conant on the 47F. And seventh, making the main event, is Levi Mayer, the 33P. Sean McNary, Tristan Avery, and everybody else will be headed to one last chance qualifier. Chris, any surprises there in our first heat race?
Well, we saw a veteran tow him around for 5 laps, and we saw one of the younger experienced riders, Nick Armstrong, be in the right position. When Bauman went wide and turned it into a drag race to the line, that left the door open to the inside for the 44 to essentially out drag race him. That race wasn't won by utilizing the draft, which is a little surprising.
Which in the GNC1 class, we probably won't be the same way. These GNC2 riders not quite as much experience as the GNC1 riders. Our winner is heading to the victory podium. He's making his way up there right now. We're getting ready to go trackside with a third member of our broadcast team. Let's go up there in just a moment to Danny Medine. She'll take the helmet off of the 44E. Let's go trackside to our victory podium. Danny?
All right, thanks you guys. Springfield Mile. Let me hear you guys. How was that? Nick Armstrong taking the first qualifying win. I think we have some awesome fans out here. Take us through a lap here at Springfield.
This is my first time here, first time riding a twin, and I'm just having a lot of fun. The wind right now, you can really feel it down the front stretch, but I got some horsepower under me, so that's helping.
So was this everything you expected?
Yeah, definitely. Just trying to be smooth and get this thing hooked up. I got to thank Chip Chisholm and Tim Gokin for letting me ride this thing.
Awesome, you guys give it up for Nick Armstrong. We'll see you in the next race.
All right, heat race number 2 looks like this. The 24F, that is J.R. Addison, Bucyrus, Ohio, on a Kawasaki. 27U, Jamison Minor, Barrington, New Hampshire. Third spot, the 67M, Davis Fisher, Warren, Oregon. 68A, Ryan Varnes. I screw this town up every time I get it, so we'll just go with Pennsylvania for Ryan Varnes. 72F, Tyler Butts from Mount Vernon, Ohio. 14A, Dalton Gauthier, Pine Grove, Pennsylvania. Row number 2 looks like this. 23Z, James Monaco. 11Z, Andrew Luker, our points leader. 23F, Jeffrey Lowry. 36B, the Flying Tomato himself, Colby Carlisle. 11th qualifier, 10L, Mac McGrew. Last rider on row number 2, another veteran. That's the 56A of Roy Miller. Let's go back to the third row. 74F, Barry Binkert Jr. and the 11F, Curtis Vandekoy. Any predictions for this one, Chris?
First of all, I'm gonna help you with that Pennsylvania town. Since I've lived there for 18 years now, I have found out that it's Moton.
Moton?
It's not spelled that way, but it's pronounced Moton.
All right, that's Reverend Ryan Varnes, Kevin Varnes' son. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Watch the 67M Davis Fisher. He's in the middle of row number 2. Varnes is there also. Inside the front row, that's the 14F Dalton Gauthier. Uh-oh.
We had the 56A on the inside. Roy Miller creep across the line, jump a little bit, move himself to the back.
Chris, there's laser beams going across every line. If a rider goes across, that light will not change from yellow. It actually goes right back to red.
It goes back to red, yes.
So that
and Roy's asking, hey, can I go out to the outside? And he's like,
nope.
Nope, you got to start on the penalty line in the exact same slot that you were on your original row. But it's interesting, this heat race loaded with second-generation racers. As Davis Fisher puts his hands up with a problem, it looks like he stalled the engine. Went to put his bike in gear and stalled the motor out.
And we talked about this earlier when in practice qualifying. That's Davis Fisher on the Racing Unlimited Kawasaki. That's actually the bike that Shayna Texter won 2 back-to-back miles on here. And also, it's never been beat here. It's never been beat.
Jared Vanderkoy in his last season doubleheader on the fall weekend, I believe, won both races here.
And I'd like to point out that is his dad. That is Rex Fisher with the team shirt on. Somebody else sticking the starter in the side. You can see the dust, how strong it's blowing. The wind is definitely picking up here in Springfield. They fire up that Racing Unlimited Kawasaki. Rex Fisher, former number 12. You raced many laps with him.
Yeah, we used to race a lot on 600s with Rex around the country. A great family. I actually believe it's third generation. I know grandfather Harry's here in the crowd today cheering on his grandson. And Dalton Gauthier, his father, was a fairly accomplished speedway racer up in Canada. He's of French-Canadian descent, and it's good to see multiple generations carrying on the family tradition here in Springfield.
And we are off. Varnes up the middle's got a pretty good start. Now it's Gauthier. Just moved up to the ranks of the pros yet right before Daytona, so Gauthier will lead him into 1. I believe that's Jamison Minor in the 2 spot. Through the first corner, everybody so far so good has made it safely. We got Fisher back there. He's a little bit off the groove. He slides from 3rd back to 5th.
As the top 2 bolt. Jamison Minor and the 14A of Dalton Gauthier. Interesting enough, Gauthier 10 months ago was racing amateur nationals, was in contention for the Horizon Award winner right here on the Illinois State Fairgrounds in Springfield.
Absolutely. Now he's making a name for himself in the professional ranks. It's Minor to lead him off of 4. Behind him is Gauthier on the 14. Here comes the 24F. That is Addison. Addison's got a fast horse. He's actually caught up to the leaders pretty much by himself without any help. So,
yeah, Ryan Varnes and here Davis Fisher, if they can hook up and work together, we'll see if they'll be able to march down the leaders. As we see the 27U Jamison Minor stretching out 3 or 4 bike lengths on the 14A of Gauthier, as we have one rider with his hand up. Looks like the 24F having an issue down the back straightaway, but Jamison Minor opening up a 5 or 6 bike length lead, equal amount back to Fisher and an equal amount back to Ryan Varnes.
So pretty good so far as Minor is out front. We'll take the top 7 to the main event as we take a look back at Luker. He's a little bit deeper in the field. His first time on an XR 750, first time on a twin ever, and he's our points leader. He needs to make the main to keep that points lead alive. So down the back straightaway, it's Minor, Gauthier. Here comes Davis Fisher. He's got some head shake, but he made the pass to second.
Yeah, he's shaking his way forward, showing the strength of that motorcycle. Goes by Gauthier pretty easily in the draft, and starting to set sail for now and see if he can go on the streaking there. Jamison Minor out front. Minor doing a good job leading this. Davis is second year as a GNC2, but first time really on the twins. Gets his foot picked up early through the middle of turns 1 and 2. Bike seems to have stabled out a bit. We'll see if he can march down our leader.
Here they come down the back straight, still Jamison Minor, but the lead is dwindling as Davis Fisher's catching up. Dalton Gauthier back there in 3rd, Ryan Varnes 4th, Tyler Butts is in 5th, Roy Miller from the penalty line is up to 6th. Andrew Luker right now is our last transfer if they were to finish this lap. We have got 4 laps going in the books right now, 2 laps remaining. 6 laps doesn't take very long here at the Springfield Mile.
It doesn't take long as Fisher has some wobbling issues. Let's see if he can figure out how to ride on top of the motorcycle to help that. As we take notice, in the 6th place position, the 56A, Roy Miller, veteran racer out of Pennsylvania, who also started on the penalty line, has got himself moved forward into a transfer spot directly into the final.
Tyler Butts sitting there right there by himself in the 5th spot. Behind him is Luker and Miller for the 6th and 7th position. One rider trying to catch up to him. That's got to be the 23F, a former Horizon Award winner, Jeffrey Lowry. White flag out for your leaders. Jamison Minor, Davis Fisher already crossed the line. 2nd generation racer, actually 3rd generation, Ryan Varnes. Revan Ryan moves up there and takes over that 3rd spot away from Dalton Gauthier as they went across the line. Gauthier back to 4th, Tyler Butts in 5th, Andrew Luker still in the 6th spot. Now Roy Miller from the penalty line up to 7th. Last lap as we see former Horizon Award winner Jeffrey Lowry sitting in the 8th position out of a transfer spot as Jamison Minor coming off of turn 4. Holds his pace, actually kind of stretches it away a little bit from Davis Fisher in the last lap and a half. Great job. First victory here at the Springfield Mile. Been following him on Twitter, and they've been working on that bike for a long, long time. When they got done with it, it sure looked really good. So congratulations to Jamison Minor. We'll meet him in just a few moments up on the victory podium with Danny, but we'll give you a full field rundown after the last bike goes by. Your winners, the 27U, Jamison Minors. We got Kawasaki, the top 4 spots. 2nd will be the 67M, Dashin Davis Fisher. 3rd, Ryan Varnes on the 68A. Dalton Gauthier will finish in the 4th spot on the Kawasaki. 5th will be Tyler Butts, number 72F on the Harley-Davidson. 6th is Andrew Luker, also on a Harley. That's our points leader. And 7th will be the 56A of Roy Miller on a Kawasaki. So Jeffrey Lowry, Colby Carlisle, and everybody else will be headed to a last chance qualifier, including J.R. Addison, who is running really strong in that 2nd and final qualifying session.
Yeah, they were running good. It's great to see the mixture of the young kids and some older veterans coming out of retirement. We see Scott Stump, led most of GNC2 Heat Race 1, and we see the 56A of Roy Miller, also in his 40s, making his way into the main event as well. So these young riders have some good experienced racers to run with.
Well, Jamison Minor's making his way up there to the victory podium. First time ever for him on the mile to get up there, I believe, is the 27U. He's making his way up to the victory podium. Let's go down trackside with Danny Medine and our winner.
Jamison Minor, I do believe that I heard that it was your first time out here at a mile. How are you feeling?
Feels really good. The track's pretty awesome. Just excited for the main.
Are you going to have a different strategy? Because what you just did seemed to work.
Just try to do what I did that time again, and hopefully it works.
All right, Springfield Mile, give your hands up for Jamison Minor, your GNC2 heat winner.
All right, Jamison Minor taking the win, a pretty commanding win right there as he got away from everybody and kind of broke away. He walks off. He didn't seem like he's very excited at all. If I won a heat race, I would be super pumped up.
Yeah, he's a pretty low-key kid. I've raced with him a few times, once down in Savannah back in November, and I've watched him at a lot of the races in the Northeast. He's done a good job. He's a low-key kid, but when he puts the helmet on, he surely races to a different tune.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, switching our attention to the GNC1 class. Top 4 will go directly to the main. Top 2 to our Dash for Cash. Number 6, that is Brad Baker from Eatonville, Washington. 80, Stevie Bonzi. 91, Mikey Martin. The 2, Kenny Coolbeth Jr. 42, Brian Smith. 59 is Willie McCoy. He's a 2-time winner here. Let's go back to row number 2. Cale Kochman, 98. 23Y, Ryan Foster. 74, Scooter Vernon. 87, Mick Kirkness. 82, Jeremy Higgins. 55P, Shane Vance. Row number 3, the 89 of Evan Bear. 21L, the 3-time world Superbike champion, that is Troy Bayless. Right beside him is 46, Aaron Linfors, and the 72, a new national number, that is Chaz Landers from right here in Auburn, Illinois. So here we go. First heat race, GNC number 1. Chris, you ready?
I'm ready. I've been looking forward to this all year. The 42, we talked about the motorcycle he debuted here, has elected to run Old Faithful, the new bike that they've tried. They like, but think they need a little bit more time, so he's going to be running essentially the motorcycles that he rode here a year ago, as the 2 Harleys get the whole shot, the 2 of Coolbeth out front, followed closely by the 6 of Brad Baker.
Down the backstretch they go. It is the 2, the Kenny Coolbeth Jr. One bike off the pace in turn number 1. Might have had some issues getting into high gear. 2nd is Baker. 3rd is the 91. 4th is the Piper. That's Brian Smith. Here comes Willie McCoy in 5th. And he's bringing with him Stevie Bonzi in the 6th spot. Leading him off of turn number 4. Now there's a new leader's going to bring him off of 4. It's the Bullet, Brad Baker. He was our fast qualifier. He's going to bring him back this way with Coolbeth in tow.
Yeah, Coolbeth runs up, trying to draft move up around the outside into 1, as Smith finds his way into the 3rd, hoping to narrow the gap to the 2 Harleys out front. The headwind, I was a little surprised. That factory Harley looks to be pretty strong, unless Coolbeth wasn't doing a whole lot about it.
Wow.
Going up into the front straightaway, he makes the pass work here going into turn 3, pushes a little wide, and like the lap before, Baker turns it underneath him as we head into the headwind up the front stretch.
It really looked like Coolbeth pushed it extra hard at that last little bit to try to take the lead. Is he working on some passing for later on? Is he trying to just get out there and break away?
Well, I think he wants to try and break away, but when you draft to the inside and you've got a tailwind, it tends to push you pretty hard in the corner, and it looks like he's having a hard time getting the front to stick and turn through the middle. So he's found himself drifting wide twice. This time he elects to go, all right, let's see if I can follow Brad through here. Then Baker goes wide, and Coolbeth returns the favor. The tailwind's really shoving the leaders into turn 3. They're pushing the front, opens up a gap. These guys turn underneath them.
So that means there'll probably be more passing down there in 3 and 4 than there will be in 1 and 2.
Very possible, as a late draft develops here for Baker going into turn 1, as we see the 42 in green starting to inch his way forward as the front runners dice with each other a bit.
Out front, it is Kenny Coolbeth. Now it's Baker out front, Coolbeth in 2nd. Here comes Smith trying to track him down on the 42. Reaches up, pulls off a tear off. McCoy is right there on the 59. Those are your front 4 direct transfers right now as one rider goes off the groove.
That Coolbeth gets in a little hot. Again, having a little difficulty keeping the thing down on the rubber through the corner, and this may shape up to a 4-rider battle by the time it's over.
Halfway flags are in there. Heat race number 1, GNC1 class, the Harley-Davidson GNC1 class, presented by Vance Hines. It is Baker out front. Now Smith takes over 2nd. Remember, finishing the top 2, you go directly to the Dash for Cash. There's an extra $1,000 up for grabs and 1 bonus point for winning the dash. So it's Baker. Here comes Smith.
The 42, I mean, he was 3 or 4 bike lengths back with a tailwind. and he ran the Harley down and made it easy going into turn 3.
And he jumped back onto Old Faithful. He's got a super skinny motorcycle right here behind us in the pit area, but he went back to the one he's won on here before. It's the 42, Smith, across the line. Baker decides to tuck in behind him, and I thought he had some more for him at the end, but he backed off.
Didn't appear to have enough momentum to make the draft pass on by, and this is something similar to what we've seen the last 2 races here. A lot of people will tend to fight for the draft behind the 42. It is a strong motorcycle in a straight line. Doesn't tend to get through the corner as well as the Harley-Davidsons, but in a straight line it's a missile, and we saw what Kenny Coolbeth was able to do here in the fall and make a pass and make it work to get a victory. But right now, the 42 out front, when he gets enough of a gap, he extends the lead in a straight line. He's essentially broken the draft on the number 6 currently.
That's pretty crazy. I mean, he's doing what he came here to do. Now Smith has the lead. Here comes the 6 by him, right behind him. Those 2 have broken away a little bit. Coolbeth down back there in the 3rd spot. Willie McCoy, who has won here before, is working with Coolbeth, see if they can work together and catch up to our leaders. We're running out of laps, Chris.
Yeah, you know, Brian Smith is in a familiar spot. He's led most of the miles, most of the laps on the miles, all, you know, the last couple years since his time hooking up with the Crosley team. The bike is very strong in a straight line. The factory Harley's doing everything he can to stay with it right now. As he's inched up a little closer, he's in the spot he needs to be. It's going to take a mistake by the 42 in the corner and room for the 6 to go by in order to make a win out of this.
Let's give you a rundown. Brian Smith out front, Brad Baker in 2nd, Willie McCoy, Kenny Coolbeth, Stevie Bonzi. So far as your top 5. This is the last lap. Again, top 2 to the dash, top 4 directly to the main event. Everybody else comes back in one semifinal. Here comes Baker. Is he going to make the pass?
And he sucks up right to the bottom of him, pulls out,
Nothing.
and hits a little pocket of air there.
Nothing.
Very interesting. And this is, for anybody in the 2nd place position, it's very difficult to beat somebody to the line. More difficult here at Springfield because it's halfway down the straightaway, unlike some of the other tracks where the straightaways are a little bit longer coming off of turn 4. But good run by the 42 of Smith. Solid performance coming from a distant 4th and pretty much holding on to this one handily there toward the end.
So we'll give you a rundown. Going to the dash for cash is the 42 of Brian Smith, your heat race winner. Brad Baker on the Harley will finish 2nd there in the dash. 59, Willie McCoy will get 3rd, and Kenny Coolbeth will take the 4th spot. Those 4 are directly into the main event. Stevie Bonzi will get 5th, Scooter Vernon 6th, Mikey Martin 7th, Wild Thing Mick Kirkness 8th, Jeremy Higgins 9th, Evan Bair 10th, Shane Vance 11th, and Troy Bayless was the last bike running on the racetrack, so he finishes in the 12th spot. That will put him in a semifinal. So we're going to take the 42 down there into the pit area, into the infield section, making his way up the racetrack. That is the old motorcycle, not the brand new, very narrow bike. He went with old, reliable, so we'll take him up there, and he's going to meet Danny here in just a second. He's got those bright green leathers on this year.
Well, we've seen Kawasaki get involved and getting some contingency money available for these guys, and one of the fastest Kawasaki's of the last few years.
Let's go trackside with Danny.
All right, thanks, you guys. Brian Smith taking the first GNC1 win out here. Now, you're not on the new bike. Can you fill us in?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I just don't have enough track time. We didn't get it done till about 5 o'clock yesterday, so that was the first laps I took on it. I think it can be really good. We just got to get some more seat time. So in the meantime, we broke out the Old Faithful that I won on last year, and hopefully we can do it again today.
Well, how does it feel to be at the first mile this season?
It's great. It's a little windy, but I'm glad to get off the short tracks down in Daytona that I struggled on and get out here on the mile where I feel at home.
All right, race fans, give it up for Brian Smith.
All right, so they're going to clear the track just a little bit before we bring up heat race number 2. We'll go ahead and give you the starting lineup. As soon as that track's clear, we'll bring them out to the racetrack. On the pole from Oxford, Pennsylvania, the Bonneville Triumph of Latest Motorsports Triumph, I believe, is the 44, Brandon Robinson. He'll be on the pole. 2nd spot from Crystal, Michigan, Zanatti Racing Harley. That's Henry Wiles. 14, Briar Bauman, Salinas, California, on the Hart Racing USC Kawasaki. Number 1, the Jammer, Jared Mees from Clio, Michigan, Las Vegas Harley-Davidson entry. The 73 of Doug Lawrence will be 5th on the front row from Mississauga, Ontario, Canada, on the Glidden Racing Kawasaki. Last rider on the front row, they call her the Racing Lady. This is her last full season. Number 15, Nicole Mees from Clio, Michigan. Row number 2, 54, Mikey Rush. 94K, Jake Cunningham. 52, Shayna Texter. 27, Robbie Pearson. 16, Wyatt McGuire. 69G, the full-time road racer, two-time Daytona 200 winner. That's Danny Eslick, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Row number 3, 67, Colt Shabolts. 35, Will Cato. 50P, Kurt Marmer. And the 65, Corey Texter on the Yamaha FZ07. Heat race number 2, GNC1 class.
Yeah, we got the battle of the Mees, looking at the number 1 of Jared, the number 15 of Nicole, husband and wife, lining up in the heat race. They're also going to do that hopefully down at the X Games coming up in a few weeks in Austin, Texas. Be interesting to see who gets the bragging rights after the heat race there for a little while. Nicole was one up on hubby as
looks like she's got the whole shot.
Here they
Nicole's
go.
going to lead him into the first corner.
Husband and wife side by side.
Jared takes over the lead, so Jared and his wife Nicole first and second off of turn number 2. They'll take him down the long back straightaway, getting things sorted out. It is Jared Mees in front of Nicole Mees. Wiles has some head shake on the 17, has to check up a little bit. Here comes Robinson on the Triumph to third.
Yeah, the number 1 out front, Jared Mees, rode a new innovative reverse cylinder head XR 750 in practice and qualifying, but has elected to ride his normal configuration XR 750, the one he finished real strong with here last year. He said it felt like it got through the corners and handled a little bit better. And, it's probably a smart choice today. Get a little more time on that newer configuration. Today looks to be more of a handling racetrack than it is a pure power track. As Nicole gets a good run,
she pulled
dressed
out
by her husband.
I was gonna say she pulled out a little earlier than Coolbeth was doing in that in the first heat race, and it made it work. Jared takes a look over his shoulder, and says, "Hey, I want to see who else is gonna come on with." It's Nicole Mees, ladies and gentlemen, will lead him off of turn number 4 in front of her husband Jared. Behind them is the 17 to 44 Wiles, and here comes Brandon Robinson on the 44 bike.
Good run by Nicole. I guess that might have said, "Hey, husband, wake up, let's go, let's get away from these guys." And Jared picks up the pace, hopefully pulls the misses with him.
So Jared out front, he's got about 5 or 10 bike lengths down the back straightaway. Nicole still in second, Wiles is in third, Robinson back there in the 4th spot. Briar Bauman in 5th, Robbie Pearson 6th, Doug Lawrence 7th, Jake Cunningham 8th, Mikey Rush and Shayna Texter your top 10.
Yeah, Mees pulls immediately a 5 bike lane gap in one complete lap. His wife goes by and says, "Hey, get moving," as the 44 runs up the inside. Brandon Robinson moving past Nicole Mees into 2nd place with Wiles in 4th.
Off of turn number 2, down the back straightaway, Jared Mees has some breathing room. He makes a drastic turn to the left. Maybe he's trying to break the draft. He probably knows the other riders are trying to catch up to him and make the pass. Robinson sitting second solidly on the latest Motors Triumph, sponsored by Castro Oil, Triumph America, and GE Capital back there in the 2 spot.
The 44 in practice showed some great straight line speed as we see him inch forward toward the number 1, right to his rear wheel. He came from a long ways back. Not only is that bike strong in a straight line, but the headwind, that was a big pocket of air for him to accelerate in. We see the number 1 getting through turns 1 and 2 a little bit better.
Here comes the 17 trying to look for a way around Nicole Mees back there for 3rd and 4th. Nicole has 3rd, Wiles is in 4th, and now Briar Bauman is caught up to those 4 riders, so we still have 5 riders battling for the top 4 spots. Mees is going to lead him off of 4. Robinson in 2nd. See what he does this time down the long front straightaway.
I expect him to be able to pull out and go by, as he does, up around the outside, taking over the lead. It looked like he was a little closer that lap, utilizing that dead pocket of air into a strong headwind. Allowed him to accelerate. It was kind of a late draft, but he's going to have to see if he can hold on and lead it and see how it is when he's leading. But the number 1 of Mees back up the inside.
What this has done is bunched up the top 5 riders now that the first rider was gone. The Triumph caught up to him, and he brought with him the rest of the pack. So here they go. Off of turn number 4, it's Mees out front. Robinson in the 2 spot. 15 of Nicole Mees in 3rd. And it looks like Wiles doesn't have anything for Nicole quite yet as he tries making the pass into turn number 1. Nicole kind of shuts the door a little bit.
Yeah, Nicole has a tendency to kind of come in a little low. If you're going to draft her, it's sometimes easier around the outside. She's real good at getting the thing into the corner and kind of pinching it down on the guardrail. But she's basically chasing the guys in front of her.
And now she's chasing her husband directly in front of her. Remember, top 2 of the dash, top 4 to the main event. So one of these riders will not make the main event out of the heat race. Looks like Jared Mees pulls up right on the back wheel, the 44 of Robinson. They'll be coming to the white flag this time by. It's Robinson, Mees, and Wiles. There's the white flag.
White flag, we have 5 riders, 3 different brands fighting for 4 transfer spots as Bauman moves himself into 4th in the final transfer position, knocking Henry Wiles to the semi at the moment.
So last lap, about a half a lap remaining. It's Jared Mees, Brandon Robinson, Nicole Mees. Down the back chute they go. Briar Bauman now in 3rd. Wiles going to have to make something happen if he wants the direct transfer. Jared's got some breathing room once again.
2 separate occasions. He's been able to, somebody give him a little bit of attention, show him a wheel or go by him, and then the next lap he goes by and gets away, and he certainly got away enough to lead this one to the line.
Jared Mees will take the win. Robinson second. They were 2 by 2 behind him, so there's 3 riders battling. We'll give you the full field rundown. It's just the rest of the bikes will make their way across so everybody can hear us here at the legendary Springfield Mile. Your winner is the Jammer, Jared Mees on the Harley. Brandon Robinson on the number 44 Triumph puts himself in the dash for cash. Also in the 3rd spot, we'll go to the main event, is Briar Bauman on the Kawasaki. And 4th, ladies and gentlemen, number 15, Nicole Mees. So husband and wife are now in the main event together. Henry Wiles comes up short in the 5th spot. Doug Lawrence, Jake Cunningham will be 7th. Mikey Rush, 8th. Robbie Pearson, 9th on the KTM. 16, Wyatt McGuire will be 10th. 11th will be Corey Texter. 12th will be his sister, Shayna Texter, back there a little bit deeper in the field. Danny Eslick, 13th. Colt Shaboltz, Will Cato, and Kurt Marmer round out your field. Any surprises out there, Chris, while they cool down just for a second?
Well, I believe the big surprise for me is, for the first time in a long time, the Triumph up front chasing the lead. The 44, Brandon Robinson, performing real well. Be very interesting to see if the 55 of Jake Shoemaker in Heat 3 can do the same thing and put 2 Triumphs in the main event. But the Triumph is a contender.
Definitely is. Jared Mees did break away a couple different times. He is headed up to that victory podium to meet Danny up there with our heat race winner. Let's go trackside down there on the victory podium. Danny?
All right, thanks, you guys. I don't know what you guys think is cooler, a husband and wife battling or the battle at the end of the race, but let's hear from Jared. That wasn't an easy win to race, an easy heat to win. Let's talk about the battle with your wife.
That was cool. I seen her come on up there, and I'm like, right on, that's awesome. The track is very grippy and kind of easy to go fast. You just pin it and go. The track's really good. I've never seen it have this much traction, which is really cool. It makes it a little one line in the corners, but good drives off the corners, really what's going to win tonight.
Now, you had a great battle at the end with Brandon Robinson. Is that going to be a little show about what's to come in the final?
It's hard to say. His bike runs good right off the corner, but through the corners, he's real twitchy. So if I can just, I made a big mistake and I allowed him to gain a bunch of momentum there in the corner, but just don't want to get behind it is really the main thing because it is pretty stout off the corner.
Awesome. Back to you guys in the booth.
Jared Mees taking the heat race win. Up next, the 3rd and final heat race for the GNC1 class. On the pole, on the Ducati, ladies and gentlemen, from Coatesville, Pennsylvania, the number 10, Johnny Lewis. Starting 2nd, the 49, the Cali Kid from Fremont, California, Chad Coase. 3rd pick on the front row from Graham, Washington, on the Briggs Auto Kawasaki, Sammy Halbert. 4th on the front row, Jared Vandekoy, number 17F. Jake Shoemaker also on the Triumph. This is the Bonneville Performance Triumph of 55 is Jake Shoemaker. After him, last rider on the front row, the winner from last night over at the TT, that is Jeffrey Carver Jr. from Godfrey, Illinois. Let's go back to row number 2. 96, Cody Johncox. 61, Dustin Crow. 32, Sean Bear. 77, Kyle Johnson. 28P, Michael Bickerton. 20T, Mikey LaBelle. 90W, Wyatt Anderson. 13X, Ken Maynard. And the 11C, Shane Fox, will be out there on the racetrack. Here comes Sean Bear, made it out there last. So he made it out there, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, it was interesting to hear Jared Mees talk about the grip. The lap times in his heat race, his best lap was a 35.2, a full half a second quicker than the times of our fast qualifier. So be interesting to see if that trend continues, and if anybody here in the 3rd heat race can see the pace elevate some more.
Well, it's good to see a Ducati out there running strong. He's on the outside of the front row, inside the 23, Jeffrey Carver Jr. This is the final heat race of the afternoon, GNC1 class. And the light turns green, they are off. Halbert from the middle, looks like he's got a pretty good start. He jumps straight up to the groove. He's bringing with him the 49 of the California Kid, Chad Coase.
And the 10 of Johnny Lewis slots into 3rd. Top 3 guys were the outer 3 positions in that order. starting from the 4th position was the 7 of Halbert on a Kawasaki for the first time on a mile on the Johnny Goad prepared Scott's Power Sports ride.
Johnny Lewis slides the number 10 up to second. That will put the 49 of Coast back there. One rider off the groove over there. I believe that's the 96 of Cody Johncox. They'll bring him off in turn number 4. It's slamming Sammy Halbert. And the 10 of Johnny Lewis bringing with him the 49 of Chad Coast. Those three have gapped the field just a little bit.
As Lewis lines up a perfect draft pass past the 7, didn't look like he quite got there in time to get by him at the finish line. But you know, these guys are going to be gauging each other for some last lap fireworks, perhaps.
One bike off the pace, he's out of the way in turn number 2. Johnny Lewis has a lot of head shake on the 10. Here comes Sammy Halbert. He said, I'm going to watch what Johnny Lewis is doing. He pulls up, lets him go. Now Lewis slips a little bit wide.
That's not an uncommon occurrence today with that tailwind pushing you into the corner. A lot of guys having a hard time getting the thing turned, shoves you in there a little bit more speed than normal, tucks the front, opens up a gap. And as we see the 23 of Carver goes by the 49 of Coase into the 3rd position. Jeffrey, good, strong, up-and-coming rider on the Don's Kawasaki team. And see if he can march forward.
So the rider that was off the track, that's the 17F of Jared Vandekoy. He's walking his Kawasaki back towards the down the back straightaway. It is Halbert out front, the 10 of Johnny Lewis in 2nd. Those riders are in a transfer to the dash. Carver back there in the 3rd spot, Chad Coast in 4th, Sean Baer 5th, Cody Johncock 6th, Michael Bickerton 7th, Dustin Crowe 8th, Kyle Johnson and Mikey LaBelle.
We watch the 7 out front going through the corners. Bike seems to be nice and steady, nice and smooth, working the thing through the corner. The 10 on the Ducati of Lewis. Looks like that thing's a little bit of a handful, almost like a wheelbarrow full of alligators going through the corner. He's wrestling that thing pretty hard, not only through the turns, but it has a little bit of a shimmy down the straightaways as well.
I'm glad it's him and not me. How about you, Chris?
Yes, I'm happy where I'm at right now.
They said the 55 is off the racetrack. That's Jake Shoemaker, so his heat race ends a little bit early. Also, the 11C of Shane Fox has pulled off. 7 out front. Sammy Halbert picks up the halfway flags. Johnny Lewis in 2nd. 23, Jeffrey Carver back there in the 3rd spot.
We see a lot of the riders having a little bit of an issue with the front end wobble, and it's not just any one brand. We're seeing it from the Kawasaki's, we're seeing it from the Ducatis, we're seeing it from Harleys, we're seeing it from all the brands. Sometimes this track has a little bit of a, when they dig it up and groom it, they create these little bit of grooves, and certainly with the high winds that we have, is making it difficult for these guys. Mees bikes are quite the handful for them at over 100 mile an hour average.
What do you think Sammy Halbert's thinking right now, making the move over to the Kawasaki? You think he's pretty happy with that decision?
I'm pretty sure he is. You know, he's been pretty much responsible for his own XR 750 builds, and they're a very time-consuming thing. I think he's very content as an athlete to be able to focus on Sammy Halbert, the racer, and not Sammy Halbert, the mechanic. And he's certainly racing to his fullest potential at the moment.
Sammy Halbert out front on the Kawasaki. Johnny Lewis still in 2nd. Jeffrey Carver 3rd. Chad Coast in the 4th spot.
As we look back through the field, some of the younger name riders, but a handful there for the 10 as the 23 of Jeff Carver moves into contention to fight for the Dash for Cash, a spot in the Dash for Cash, as well as the front row of the main event. Real handling issues apparently for the 10. They both kind of shaking a little bit going down the straightaways. They got a little hop through the corners. These guys have their hands full, and as the looked like the 23 might have gone on by, the 32 shaking back there in the 4th position for the final transfer spot. These guys got their hands full around the Springfield Mile today.
Absolutely. Here they come to the white flag. It is Sammy Halbert way out front. Johnny Lewis and Jeffrey Carver with a little bit of shimmy down there. Here comes our 4th place rider, Sean Baer. Now here comes the 77, Kyle Johnson. Remember, he had a mechanical issue on one of his bikes earlier in qualifying practice. Looks like they have that fixed. Again, only the top 4 to the main, so the battle for 4th is very important right now.
As we see the 96 of Cody Johncox in that group as well, hoping for a direct transfer to the main event. A 4-rider battle for 1 position. The 49 of Coase dropping back a little bit at the tail end of this.
Sammy Halbert's going to pick up the checkered flag right now. Way out in front, ladies and gentlemen. 2nd place will be the rest of the pack. There's the 23 and the 10 side by side. Here's the battle for the last transfer spot. Sean Baer is going to hang on to it. We'll give you a full field rundown as soon as the bikes go past you on the front straightaway and get into turn 1. Sammy Halbert takes a look over his shoulder. He sees he's got plenty of room back to the second place rider. So your winner, the number 7, Sammy Halbert on the Kawasaki by 2.3 seconds over Johnny Lewis on the Ducati. Those two are headed to the Dash for Cash. 23, Jeffrey Carver Jr. on the Kawasaki finishes up in that 3rd spot. He's in the main. And the 32, Sean Bear, also in the main event on the KTM. So 5th on back go to a semifinal. 77, Kyle Johnson. 96, Cody Johncox. Chad Coase, who was up there for a while, faded back to 7th. Bickerton, Dustin Crow, and the rest of the gang are headed to a semifinal. Well, Chris, that's the final heat race already. It doesn't take real long to put 5 heat races in the books.
Yeah, especially with no issues, no red flags. Nobody. We've had we've seen a little bit of a war of attrition with several mechanicals, but I'd be willing to bet that the face on that number 7 is ear-to-ear grin at the moment. I'm sure there's a big burden has been lifted off his shoulder. Having Johnny Goad take care of the tuning chores of the Scott Power Sports Kawasaki, as we send it down to Danny Medine and our winner, Sammy Halbert.
All right, thanks you guys. Sammy Halbert, we haven't talked about the start yet. How important is it on a track of this caliber?
I mean, the start's not too critical as long as you can be in that lead draft and you got a horse under you that can draft to the front, then you'll be all right.
So you're going on to the Dash for Cash. What are you expecting?
Yeah, the dash will be good for us. We know we'll get to go up against the other top riders. I had not too many of them in my heat race, but it was a good start on the new team. Briggs Auto, Scott Power Sports, Martin Trucking. Big thanks to all those guys for coming together. It was the first couple of practice sessions. I started off a little slow, but Johnny Goad put the super tune on it, and we got it working pretty good.
All right, Springfield Mile fans, give your hands up to Sammy Halbert. Back to you guys in the booth.
All right, thanks a lot, Danny. We're going to take our first scheduled intermission. They're going to do a few things to the racetrack right now. So what do you think of the heat races so far, Chris?
Very interesting. The guys out front that we expected. We had the Kawasaki win, a couple Kawasaki's win. We had the number 1 defending champion picking up where he left off, showing his strength. The fastest lap time in that last heat race, not quite as fast as the fastest lap time of the number 1 of Jared Mees, so it's shaping up to be a barn burner. The surprise is our fall winner, the 2 of Kenny Coolbeth, kind of a distant 4th in his heat race. So there's some people going to the drawing board right now.